Okay, welcome listeners. You're tuned in to this week's broadcast of Gun. My name's Kev, better known for my work over on TruthTube 451. Joined tonight by my co-host Kip. We're in a storm-lashed UK right now. The south of England are bracing themselves for hurricane winds, so if you're living down that neck of the woods, our thoughts go out to you. Kip, how are you doing, man? You all braced for the storm?
Well, mate, being Scottish and in Glasgow, we're just used for we're set up for another winter of norms, and apparently up here we're not getting hot with the worst of it, thank God. So again, people down south, man, batten down the hatches, turn the heating up and bump the gas and electricity companies. If you can't afford it, stay warm rather than dead.
But you know what this country's like, Kip? The infrastructure is that crap that just so much as a fallen tree, and that's going to put things back a couple of days. That's how bad it is over here. So no doubt down in the south of England we'll be seeing major catastrophes. It'll be wall-to-wall news. There'll be a few slates blown off a roof and it'll be spun as some major disaster.
Well, I always get suspicious when the mainstream media, mate, tries to make a storm in a teacup, but we'll need to wait and see.
Well, that's not the only storm in the teacup this week, is it, Kip? There's been a new character. Not a new character, but let's just say there's a character appeared on the Truth Movement scene, and he is proven to be very, very divisive. That character is, of course, if you've just arrived back from Mars and you haven't caught any of this, it's Russell Brand, the new self-proclaimed leader of the revolution.
I think you said it good just before the show that he's been injected into this movement, or whatever you want to call it. I done a clip before the show about why I don't trust him and why I don't think other people should trust him, and why people shouldn't trust any revolution brought to you by the BBC. I mean, don't people see that this Jeremy Paxman interview was pre-recorded past the BBC editing team, editors and so on and so forth, and then got published on the BBC. This isn't any genuine grassroots man with a gold of heart, with a heart of gold even. This man is controlled, contrived, he's got a foggy past. We've talked about it before we kicked off the show, and I think we'll go into it a wee bit more in depth later on. But personally, I'm of the opinion he shouldn't be trusted. I know earlier on, Kev, on one of your videos you said, well, I don't know, give him a time, judge him by his fruits and stuff like that. And I would say that I'm judging him by his fruits, and his fruits are his history. If you're into the esoteric side of things and your symbolism, you only need to look at his brand X, the O and the X being 66. The Kabbalistic meaning of that is the mark of the beast, not the number of the beast. In my video, I put in a lot of links to Freeman's work that he's done on this symbolism relating to Russell Brand. But the biggest warning sign, the biggest alarm bell going off for me is the fact that it was brought to us by the BBC. Now, I know we had a good friend of the show, Nick. He wanted to call in and get his tuppence worth in on Russell Brand. So just before we bring him in and let him say what his opinion on the Russell Brand situation, why don't you just tell us, Kev, what your position on Russell Brand as it stands, buddy?
Right, that video I put out the other day, Kip, I was saying that basically we should maybe stop jumping all over people and just judge them by what happens from here on in. But at the same time, right, I couldn't have been clear because we'd spoke about this earlier on. I think you maybe thought I was coming at it from, this is a good thing and all that. Oh, you could not be further from the truth there, man. This character, he's got so much in his past that should be ringing alarm bells in our heads. The fact that we're even here having to do a section of a show about the guy, to me, proves that he, as Kip said, he's been injected into this awakening that's happening right now. and he is saying all the right things, and I mean he is saying all the right things, and that in itself is what people want to hear. Now, again, at the same time, though, I'm starting to see in the truth movement, I don't know, Nick's joined us now as well, I don't know what you'll think about this, Nick. The minute anyone comes forward and says anything, it just seems to be the automatic reaction just to jump on people, doesn't it? And I mean, I probably picked the wrong character in Russell Brand to try and make my stand on, because I can't defend him and I can't give him like the benefit of the doubt. I really can't, although what he's saying is good. But is it just people in this movement, Nick? I mean, is it just me that sees this, or do we all always automatically want to attack the character as opposed to analysing what they've just got to say?
Well, for me, it's not about the character at all. It's all about the platform. You know, you've got to understand that Russell fits all the right, you know, boxes. He ticks all the right boxes for the man to lead the controlled revolution.
That's exactly what I'm calling it. It's definitely the controlled revolution, man.
And for me, it's got nothing to do with the character. I mean, I can attack his character.
But well. Nick, do you see
his character is more than attackable with
but
regards
Nick,
to...
do you see where I'm coming from? Let's leave Brand out of it. Say the minute anyone comes forward, it's like there's the truth community kind of bay for blood, and it's as if they totally go for the character. They want to idolise somebody. One half of the community wants to idolise somebody and have a leader, and the other half, like you're saying, like myself and Kip as well, we go with the info, and that in itself divides it again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the thing is, it's very divisive how the mainstream media uses itself to control the masses. It's very, very divisive, you know. And come on, let's have a look at how Russell's life has made him the perfect man to go forward and take people who are basically, you know, pissed off, and everybody's got a past. You know what I mean? They don't want to see somebody who's clean, you know, just been to church all their life, perfect, prim and proper, and all that.
Closets are full of skeletons,
what they want is they want Russell, don't they? You know what I mean? Not scared to say this, not scared to say that.
I think it was good what we were even touching on earlier, just before the show kicked off, and like the fact that people could even draw into question whether his perceived history at the moment is his genuine history, or whether this guy has literally just been built up as a character to be, as Kev said, injected into this movement at the right time to control the revolution. Now, Nick, me and you have spoke a lot about the controlled revolution. I'm trying to think now whether it's been on air, off air, on a Google Hangout or whatnot. I'm not exactly sure. But me and you have went over it. It ends, and it does... I think Bilderberg was a good point for me to see that there was people trying to control the revolt. Bilderberg was a prime example with your free speech FEMA camp, your controlled protests. Okay, you can protest, but in this FEMA camp. I mean, it's ridiculous. And we have touched on the controlled revolution. There's numerous characters that could be questioned whether they are put up there as gatekeepers or as the Pied Pipers of the truth movement. So what do you think, Nick, about this perceived controlled revolution? In my mind, there is a revolution coming, and it's important that the well-meaning people out there try and control it for ourselves. Now, there's nothing wrong with looking to good people to lead good men to a better place. But what was ever wrong with people using their own brains, coming up with their own opinions? And here's a cracker: have confidence in yourself to actually lead yourself to a better place. Stop looking at other people to save you, but actually start trying to save yourself, and then expand on that and save the community around you.
Absolutely, mate. I couldn't agree more. That's it couldn't have been put much better, you know. And I agree. There is a revolution coming. Yeah. When I said there is a revolution coming, there's a peak of the revolution coming. You know, because all the revolutions if you look at it in real terms, all the revolutions have just been one revolution. It just comes in peaks and troughs because it's the same thing every time. It's the downtrodden, right, that are revolting against the hierarchy, right, and the hierarchy has remained all the way through, and the downtrodden have remained all the way through. But there's peaks and troughs. You know, when there's an uprising, and there is a massive uprising coming. And I tell you what, people won't have to lead it before long. People won't have to lead the revolution. It won't matter, right? So obviously the powers that be, in the BBC or any of the mainstream media, you know, this is damage limitation what they're putting out with Russell Brand. You know what I mean? It's try and divert it this way and let them follow it this way. But there's going to be a swathe. There's going to be a massive swathe of people.
I think it's important
disgusted with the system before long.
To try and understand what's happening just now, I think it's really important people look at history, and one of the two most famous revolutions being the French and American Revolution. Now, in a lot of people's mind, there's no doubt that both of them were Masonic revolutions driven by secret societies and the Brotherhood. Could it be perceived that this coming revolution is going to be the biggest one because it's going to be global? There's no longer any firewalls between nations, continents. Whether people want to admit it or not, I think the global society is here. The UN is the one world government. I mean, in my mind, there's no doubts about it, man. The UN holds so much power just now that you literally could argue that they are already. The UN are already a one world government in place. Everything else that's happening just now is like sort of a closing the doors behind them and just cementing the deal and making it harder for individual nation sovereignty to come back out. They're
just bitch slapping a few people. That's it. Yeah. That's how they see it. Do you know what I mean? They're just bitch slapping a few people into place.
And here's
empire building.
Here's a few facts about Russell Brand that should maybe make people question him. Now, firstly, for people who like symbology and stuff like that, his name Brand. Hold on, actually, I'll just get the right information up. Brand is a surname that reflects Russell's nature. It comes from the Old Norse word brand with an R at the end, which means fiery torch or beacon. Now, anybody that's into their symbology and stuff and into the esoteric side of things will understand that Lucifer is the torch bearer, the light bringer. He gave man the gift from God of fire and so on. So even Russell Brand's name, straight away for me, starts alarm bells going off. Then you look into the fact that his mother used to work as a secretary for a parish church. His mother and father split up, and Russell Brand was allegedly abused by a tutor at the age of 7-year-old when he was still with his mother, who had links to the parish church and worked there. Later on in his teenage years, he had an eating disorder. Now, not that any of these particular items should, forgive the pun, brand somebody for life, but I think these are important parts of the puzzle to sort of try and get an idea of this guy's character. I mean, his biological father, who he did, by his own admissions, he didn't see much, took him out to visit prostitutes. Then, a good idea to get where his alliances live. You can look at him in 2007. He performed at the Royal Variety Show for the Queen and Philip. I believe it might have been then that he was photographed with a hand, could be perceived to be a Masonic handshake with the Queen. So there's lots of things in this guy's past that allows you to paint a picture to see that, I don't know, he can't be trusted.
Another wee look into his character would be on the morning of September the 12th, 2001, while the rest of the world were trying to come to terms with the images that we'd been bombarded with the day before of the plane hitting the building and the towers falling. Russell Brand, he thought it'd be a good idea to turn up to work at MTV dressed up as no less than Osama bin Laden and accompanied by his drug dealer. So, and you know, if you wanted to really go way out on that one day after it, maybe 24 hours later after the event, and Russell Brand is so clued up on world politics and world terrorism that he knows Osama bin Laden's the man, or has he been used there again to put Osama bin Laden out into the public perception?
And also frame Russell Brand in the context that he is a truther warrior or whatever.
Again, adding to his legend, shall we call it?
Well, that's the thing. They're putting this guy up on the pedestal right now, and let's just look. The guy admits that he's been addicted to heroin. He admits he's been addicted to alcoholism. He admits he's a womanizer. I don't ever think I've heard him apologising for his womanising ways. I mean, fair dues. If the women are happy to sleep with him and he's happy to do it,
I think you could probably say he's the most perfect demonstration of a disciple of Crowley's magic that you'll ever see.
Yep.
Do what thou wilt.
Yes, most definitely. And all the sexual perversions that go with that as well. I mean,
yeah, I believe that's one of the reasons he's been put on this pedestal by the elite out there. They worship people's sexual prowess, let's say, and that's literally what Russell Brand's made a career on, being a womanising junkie.
He has a certain slime about him as well, doesn't he? You know, even the one, you know, the time when he took it's CNN newscasters and what have you. He took them to town about the mainstream media.
They all look the
He's
same.
just got so much slime about him. It's unbelievable.
But again, people need to understand. I've made a video earlier on. A lot of people are making comments, a lot of pros and cons for Russell. A lot of the pro arguments I've heard for him is we need somebody with this platform to speak out. Now, the fact that this man has got this platform and he is still allowed to speak out in pre-recorded interviews that are then broadcast, does that not tell people something, or is that just me?
He's saying basically,
no, it's
right?
definitely not you, mate. It's definitely not just you.
He's saying basically the same
stuff. As far as I'm concerned, right, that is fucking bang on, Kip. Absolutely right, man. Why can these people not see what's going on here, right? You know, there are many people posting all over Facebook, all over the internet, right, that this guy is saying all the right stuff. We all know he's saying all the right stuff, but why is he saying all the right stuff on the platform that he's saying it on? That's the thing.
On the anyone else, they would have the X-Files music on and it'd be classed as a whack job.
Yeah.
And you could even draw parallels. Now, this is going to be controversial and upset some people, but whenever I've ever let that stop me, so let's get that in. You could also bring into question Alex Jones' appearance on CNN. Now, the same rules apply. That Alex Jones was allowed to be given a platform on CNN when they're meant to be at polar opposites of the so-called spectrum. You could draw into question why CNN. Like a lot of people would say, well, they brought AJ onto CNN hoping that he would make the pro-gun lobby, that side of the argument, look a bit wacko and crazy. Some would argue that he did. Some would argue that he done a good job on Piers Moron's show. But again, you need to question, why did CNN allow Alex Jones to have that platform to put his points forward when they are apparently on the polar opposites of the argument? I just find it suspicious. When I mean, Alex Jones also got airtime on the BBC, let's not forget. The same argument applies for Russell Brand. It could be applied to Alex Jones as well. I know that was going to upset a lot of people out there, but why not put it up there? Why not put it out there for some debate? Because I think it's an important debate to be had. I mean, if people live in this paradigm where they cannot question the people who are at the front, the biggest of this movement, then we've lost the battle. You still need to be able to question everybody that's put up there as a so-called leader. And we were speaking before as well about why are people looking for leaders? Surely one of the biggest things that I've got out of getting involved in this stuff is thinking for myself being able to absorb other people's information, put it into my head, use cognitive ability, and come up with my own opinions. And I'm in a privileged position right now. I've got time to listen to a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different opinions. I do try and take in a broad spectrum of stuff. And it allows me to be in a position where I can catch the parrots out there in the truther movement, where one person says one thing and then the next week or two it's battered around all the different podcasts. And a lot of the pro and con Russell Brand stuff is following along that line, and I think people need to have the confidence in themselves to lead themselves out of this mess. We don't need more leaders than we've already got. I think you were touching on that as well earlier, Nick.
Yeah, well, to be fair, leaders are what got us into this trouble in the first place, aren't they? Let's face it. You know, it goes without saying. I mean, look at what our leaders are doing right now. Have a look, right? The waging war on countries that they've sold arms to, that they've encouraged different ways of living to what they're used to, right? Our country has leaders, right, that are despicable. So what's to look up to? What is there? Why do people still allow these people to tell them what to do?
But since the dawn of time, I don't get it. I mean, I've always thought about this. It's as if the majority of people have always needed a leader. It's as if they look for a leader. They can't take responsibility for themselves. Unfortunately, we're the minority. We see beyond that. But the majority they literally are sheep and they need a shepherd. They need somebody to be dependent on. It's pathetic. But how do you change that?
A good thing to bring into the conversation now when you're speaking about that is like, look at the attitude of people of the similar mindset to yourselves. Now, Bilderberg is a really good example, Kev. We were in a group of, 4 or 5, maybe 8 sometimes, and we're trying to make general decisions on, like, should we walk left or should we walk right, X, Y, and Z. And we're all sitting and having 2-hour debates about what's the best crisps to buy because we're all so nice to each other. So it sort of goes to show, like, people with the mindset like ourselves are willing to sit down in a group of people and come to a general consensus that's best for everybody. None of this crap that we need a prime minister because he needs to be in control of the country. I mean, look at that David Moron crap that was out recently when the guy was literally standing up there and saying that I'm going to make the decisions. The Prime Minister reserves the right to take this country to war in the drop of a hat without going to Parliament because the Prime Minister needs to be able to defend the country in 30 seconds flat. I'm sorry, that's a dictator by any other standard.
It's a dictator by all standards. By all standards. Yeah? And by the way, you know the crisp thing? Yeah? That just goes to show, doesn't it? Even those of us that consider ourselves to be free from the indoctrination. Yeah. It's not looking that way. We need to free ourselves even more.
Oh, well, I would agree with you on that, man. I mean, like, the way the system's set up, people who really want to get out the system, it's impossible. You can take yourself out to a certain degree, but the system has us by the balls. The system does have us by the balls. There's no doubt about it, man. I mean, there's so many people out there that would just like to shut their door and tell the government to F off, but we're in an impossible position at the moment.
Absolutely.
But we've got Russell Brand to save us, guys. Don't worry.
The only positive I can take from Brand, right, and you know I'm a glass half full kind of guy, you have to take a positive somewhere. He is going to bring some of the trendies to the information. And if we can grab those trendies while they're there and open their eyes and maybe get them to see that, yep, what he's saying is right, but get them to evolve on from there and move on from him, then maybe we can swell our numbers. Just, it's nothing big, I know, but it's the only positive I can take out of this.
I don't know. I've stopped trying to wake people up, me.
Let's face it, Nick, most of his followers will not be like listeners to podcasts and things like that. And this will be new information to them at a time when they're probably looking for answers.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that I've absolutely stopped trying to wake people up. You know, it's today. I go out now. I just, you know, say it how it is. You know, you know, when you go past that point where you need to tell everybody and shake them and wake them up. You know what I mean?
It's never going to work anyway. Neither it is.
Well, Nick, what you're saying there, I just want to expand on that. Like, it must have been in the last week I caught a Ry Dawson clip. Now, I mean, this dude shut down my first. We're just going out to break 1 minute, so we'll touch on the Ry Dawson thing when we come back. But I want to touch on. He had an impact on me with something he said about, similar to what you were saying, Nick, stop trying to wake people up. And that can actually have a beneficial effect in the sense that when you first come aware of these things and you are very adamant about what's happening and so on and so forth, you can come across a bit extreme trying to wake people up. And sometimes that can have the opposite effect and turn people away from you because you seem like you're going crazy. So that's us just going out to break people. So we'll take up this conversation when we come back. Alrighty, welcome back to Gun Glasgow Underground News Network live this Sunday. An hour earlier this week because of the clock changes in the UK. So I think in a couple of weeks' time or whatnot, Kev, I think it'll catch up with us and everything will be the same again. But as of now, it'll be 5 PM UK time or whatever. So I'm with you. I'm one of the hosts, Kip. You'll find me over on YouTube, Kip1883. You'll find me under Kip's Clips, Freedom News Hub 2.0 as well. As always, my co-host, Kev, you'll find him over on YouTube, TruthTube451. And with us tonight is Nick. You'll find him on YouTube and Facebook under Stop the Rot. Now, just before we went out there, I was starting to talk about Ry Dawson and something he said in one of his recent clips about truthers or whatever you want to call people like ourselves trying to wake people up and being maybe a wee bit forceful about it, and that can tend to have the opposite effect. I was sort of building on what you were saying, Nick, that I think you were saying that you've got by that stage where you're standing in front of people, jumping up and down, going crazy to try and wake them up. And I'm coming round to your way of thinking, mate. I think the slowly catch monkey approach might actually be more effective than trying to force all this truth down people's necks at the one time.
Yeah, man, just drop the odd thing in now and again. You know, when somebody's talking about, you see, we run the risk of running around like taking everything or speaking out of context. You know what I mean? You got to understand the sheeple or the people that are not awake, right? They're going to be having conversations about whatever they're going to be having conversations about, and if the opportunity arises, then say something. You know what I mean? Don't sort of go blah, 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 you know what I mean? Because that's all it'll sound like.
That's what I'm based at as well.
I think that's all part of the stages of waking up, and I think everyone goes through that stage of forcing it on people. I think that's the way I certainly seen it with some people. Anyway, me personally, I was wanting to tell everyone all of the time. They'd be talking about a birthday party. I'd want to go on about chemtrails. I was the pain in the ass, basically. Nobody wanted to be near me for a good few months.
What do you mean nobody wanted to be here?
They still don't. Here I am sitting in front of my microphone. They still don't, man.
I think because when you do become aware of a lot of this information, I think it can be... It changes your outlook in the world. So you literally do want to try and point people to the same information that you've came aware of that's changed your world view. So I think, as you said, Kev, maybe different stages or whatnot, we could all be guilty about standing in front of people and ranting like a lunatic. Me, that's just a normal conversation for me, to be honest. I mean, I'm not even joking. I can come across like that speaking to people about cornflakes. It doesn't have to be anything I'm passionate about, but that is just me. And here's another thing I'll throw in. I get a lot of people on my channels, especially today about the Russell Brand thing. I got a comment saying, flashing lights and somebody shouting, ranting and raving. If you spoke more polite and calmed down and told us the information, I would have happily watched. And I'm sitting there saying, my channel is not here for the masses. It's here for people who want it. My channel's here for people who can see by the words and look for the information. I'm not trying to be the BBC or ITV's replacement. I'm just trying to be myself and talk about things I find important. And obviously that rubs people up the wrong way sometimes, as I find in the comments on my channel quite a lot.
Kip, even if you had done it that way, the way they want you to do it, you'd rub another bunch of people up the wrong way. So you can't win anyway, man. You'll never get all of the people to like you all of the time. It's impossible.
Well, I'm certainly happy to put things out there that I know will upset people. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are scared to say a bad word about Alex Jones because there's so many people out there that will just automatically turn against you, and they will literally go all-out attack on you personally for just questioning when Alex Jones himself tells you to question him. I mean, I don't feel guilty for questioning Russell Brand. I don't feel guilty for questioning Alex Jones. They people are in very powerful positions, and it's only right that people who are apparently trying to search for the real truth actually question these people.
But what if it is the real truth though? Does it matter who it comes from?
Well, it does when. Well, look at disinformation agents. A lot of people would subscribe to the fact 99.9% of their information spot on and exactly what you want to hear. But it's when you get to that critical point, they'll turn around and fill your head full of bullcrap. And we were even touching on it before. Russell Brand, there's a Facebook picture out there doing the rounds, and it's Russell Brand as the Pied Piper leading the people from one cage into another cage. So he'll be taking you into the maybe a nation of corporate fascism, into a worldwide corporate fascism setup.
I don't know about you guys, but I like to get my information from all over the place, right? And it doesn't just include on the internet. It definitely usually doesn't include the television, but do you know something? There's a myriad of information when you walk out your front door, right? You know what I mean? We are by far the stupidest mammals on this planet, right? If the only place we get our information from is from the internet or from the television, when there's that kind of information outside. No, you've got to start living, people. Do you know what I mean? You've got to start going out there and existing properly in the world and talking with people.
If people want to sort of get an idea of what sort of a police state the vast majority of countries are living in under just now, go and speak to the police. Go and try and film the police. Go and ask them some relevant questions. And what you'll find is a very uncooperative bunch.
I was just going to say, good luck with that.
you will not. It's very rarely you'll find a nice police officer willing to speak to you as a human being if he isn't wearing that stupid wee blue thing on his hat, and that's the police PR mob. What do they call them? Liaisons officers or something like that?
That's the one. That's the cuddly name for them, with their nice pastel blue, peaceful colour.
That's the ones that were allowing us to shout blue murder in their face down in Bilderberg.
They were the choreographers of the controlled revolution down at Bilderberg, definitely, man.
Absolutely. Hey guys, can I just tell you something about what happened to me recently?
No.
Okay then.
Of course you can, man.
With regards to like getting feet on the street and just going out and about, I heard from a friend of mine on Facebook that there was a demonstration going to be held down at the town hall against the bedroom tax. Now, I'm not sure if our American listeners know what the bedroom tax is, but basically people on benefits over here, if they've got a spare bedroom in a council house being like provided by the state, then they're going to have to pay. They're going to have reductions on their benefits, so they'll have to pay more council tax off their benefits. Basically, they're just creaming it off at the top. So I'd heard there were a demonstration about going down to the town hall, and we were going to shout about it. So me, being like I am, I went down the town hall at the right time to find out that actually it was a council meeting, and we were going to hand in a petition to the council, asking them to scrap the idea of, you see, councils in this country have the opportunity to evict people or not to evict people, and it's left down to local government to be able to decide one way or another by voting. So we went into this council meeting, and we were ushered upstairs into what they call the public gallery, where you can see over all the council people. Yes, and obviously they started talking all the for a while, and then our representative was given 5 minutes to talk to them. You're allowed 5 minutes to talk over the microphone to the councillors, and the councillors can listen to what you've got to say about it when you give them the petition. So our guy goes on talking about why he's given this petition in on behalf of all of us, and quite a lot of them were just fiddling around with their mobile phones and laptops. They were surfing on the net, and we could see it because we were looking down from the public gallery. And I decided that after a while, after our representative had finished and handed in the petition, that it would be only right and proper to tell them how rude they'd been to not listen to him.
Well, I don't even, Nick, I don't think I've had the opportunity to actually speak to you verbally about this yet, man, but kudos, man, I loved that. The fact you're going in there and covering it and actually getting involved, like feet's on the ground, but even better, the fact that you stand up in there on the public gallows and shout at them. What was it you were shouting? A bunch of lagers and creaming off the top and stuff like that, so kudos to you, buddy.
Definitely, I'll second that, man.
And kudos to you.
They needed telling, man. They needed telling. It was absolutely appalling what they were doing, man. It would, these people had the good grace to prepare something, and it takes a long time to prepare 5 minutes of talking. If you're gonna read it from a script, it takes a long time to prepare that kind of stuff to tell people, and they didn't even have the common decency to, and we pay their allowances. £12,000 a year we give them people, yeah, and then when we go and speak to them, they treat you like that. They don't even want to listen.
You can even get access to them.
It's disgraceful.
And that isn't. I would say that's the norm, mate. I wouldn't even say that was anything out of the ordinary. I would say if you go to councils up and down this country, you'll find the exact same thing. You'll find people sitting in there, and they're only there in body. They're not there in mind. They're sitting there, as you say, playing crap on their phones, surfing the internet. And there's people whose lives are getting affected by all this bull crap they're pushing through, and they ain't got the common decency to actually listen to the normal man on the street, because they're sitting there quite happy to know that any cuts, any austerity that comes in, they're going to be the last pigs at the trough that get affected by it.
Well, it's not going to affect them, is it? It's not. It's not going. They're not going to have to struggle, right? So they just sat there, all nonchalant, like, not giving a shit about the people, right? It's like, this guy was telling them, right, that people were gonna freeze, right? It's gonna be a case of, do I feed myself or do I heat myself, right? It was telling them that people are gonna be evicted, yeah? Evicted from the houses, yeah? And all they could do were mess around on the phones and surf the internet. And they were chit-chatting amongst themselves and having a laugh as well. We've got video evidence of it. Yeah, we've got photographic evidence of it. Yeah?
What's your YouTube channel, mate? Anybody that wants to check that clip out, what's the exact YouTube channel they could find that clip on, man?
It's on Stop the Rot 1.
Stop the Rot 1, and you can go and... I can't remember what it's named myself at the moment, but it's one of your plates.
Stop the Rot and Kate berate Kirklees councillors for...
Big bags.
Big rudeness. Somewhat rudeness. I can't remember.
Well, kudos, Nick, because I love... They're my favourite type of clips to watch. See clips when you actually see the shaky camera, you can tell it's a mobile phone, you can tell it's somebody on the street, they're either speaking to a councillor, they're speaking to police, they're speaking to bailiffs. That is where I see the actual confrontation. For me, that's the front line. That's where the actual war is happening. When you get bailiffs coming round to people's houses to try and kick them out for X, Y and Z, and then you've got community-minded folk standing up there and actually trying to get the bailiffs to act lawfully and stay within the law, and also remind the police that they are there not to back up any corporation but to keep the peace. And a lot of that is lost on a lot of people, and I would even surmise that's the information that a lot of the so-called gatekeepers out there don't allow people access to. It's information like that that allows people, the normal man on the street, to actually fight against the system, have small victories, and hopefully overall affect change. If people found out the ins and outs and the lawful and the legal stuff when it comes to bailiffs, and the way that you can genuinely show peaceful non-compliance, peaceful resistance to these folk, it's a step in the right direction. You even need to look at what another divisive character, George Galloway and Tommy Sheridan, they both made their name, primarily, they made a lot of noise for themselves during the poll tax up here in Scotland. And it's because they were willing to go around to people's houses en masse with bodies, physically stopping people getting evicted from their house because of that poll tax. And I'm thinking, where is that spirit went to? Where is the people advocates standing up there and going, don't pay your bedroom tax, get 100 to 200 people in your local community to come round and stand in the way of the bailiffs if they come round and try and evict you? Why not? Where are the people calling for this? Why is David Icke not telling us about this? Why is Alex Jones not telling us about this? Why is Nigel Farage not telling us about this? Why is George Galloway, and I like George Galloway, not telling us about this? Well, George Galloway and Farage, you know, they've got their nose in the pigs. They've got their nose in the trough, so they don't want to cut off their nose to spite their face. But this is the information that we really need to get drummed out to people to beat these morons.
It just shows you, though, Kip, from the time of the poll tax to now, how much the community spirit's been smashed again. Because people
Maggie Thatcher, my friend, Maggie Thatcher
just ain't joining together now. They ain't clubbing together like they did then. But I have to give Tommy Sheridan big up. He's still a big talker and an opponent of the bedroom tax in its current form up here just now, isn't he, Kip? He's doing the right thing. He was talking about mobilising people.
Massive respect for that man. Massive respect for
definitely. Just look at how they demonised him in the media to see that he is a genuine character.
The fact that
tells it all.
The fact that Rupert Murdoch was set out to basically kill Sheridan, that says it all. Sheridan was brought down. Now, I don't even care if that guy went to sex clubs. I think his mistake was not coming out and going, so what if I do? Get over it, man.
What's wrong with going to sex clubs?
Absolutely nothing when your wife looks like this.
Not that I do, but like, I'm not bothered if other people do. You know what I mean? What the fuck's wrong with that?
And if
I did want to, I fucking would do.
Surely we could.
You know what I mean?
Surely we could also suggest that the House of Parliament itself is one big, massive sex club.
Of course it is, eh? And it doesn't just involve the fucking politicians. It involves fucking little ones too.
What was the story that came out 6 months, 9 months ago, and it was talking about the House of Parliament? It came out that, I can't remember the details, but they were talking about all the porn that was accessed from inside Parliament, not only by the MPs, but by the general staff and the people that do the day-to-day running and that.
It worked out thousands of times a day, I think, Kip.
And my question is, like, why was that brought up? I mean, I personally have nothing against porn. It's when the innocence. It's when you see innocent people. When it's affecting innocent people, that's where I draw the line. I mean, look at the amount of stories.
Unfortunately, I think 90% of that industry is probably on the seedier exploitation side of things. Do you know what I mean? But again, I'm with you. I've got no problem with it. If that's what people are into and it's no crimes committed, adults consenting, that's all cool. But again, there's probably 90% kit where it's pretty bad.
And then,
can I just interject here, guys?
Of course you can, man.
I've just had a thought, right? I know why it is that our people, or I know, and I can now give you proof that the people that run this country, right, are absolutely like not there. They're not on it. They're retarded. They're stupid, right? Yeah. Who was its husband that got caught with downloading porn, right, in the hotel room?
It wasn't downloading. He ordered a blue movie from Sky or something like that, and he charged it on expenses. I can't remember
Does he not know that you can live stream it for free? And
I could hook him up with a few sites.
You know what I'm saying? So the guy went to a sex club. So fucking what? So we're sexual. We're sexual people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Tommy Sheridan went to a sex club. So fucking what?
Breaking news: a politician has had sex. Oh my god!
Breaking news: a Catholic bishop.
A Catholic bishop? What?
No, you're right. I'm not going any further with that. It is breaking news, but...
Well, I was before you came on, me and Kev were talking about something, and something funny came up, and I think we could have a bit of fun with this, and it was about the report of the English police force who done a Twitter, Police 1, Immigrants 0. Now, I'm pretty sure people are aware of my views on immigrants. There is no view in I think it's put up there to distract people. I personally believe that, right?
More division, Kip. More division again.
But I also have no problem with a police force tweeting that. The racist people are the people who called that racist, in the sense that they are presuming that because the police say immigrants, that they're meaning people of brown skin, black skin, whatever colour of skin. They're presuming that that police force were singling out blacks, browns, or whatever. Now, I seen a funny clip, and it was off UFO Hunter, UK.org, and he was talking about it, and it was like satire, and he was going along the lines of, like, he's now going into his house, and he's scrubbed out the brown on his brown sauce, and changed the name because he doesn't want to be perceived as being racist. Now, I think we should all jump on this bandwagon. I've just recently flung out my dirty washing bin because it had 2 compartments, one for whites and one for colours. That washing up basket was definitely invented by the KKK. It was just separating, just dividing and conquering.
Well, Kip, you're having a laugh with it, right? But here we go. Daily Mail, 2nd of August 2013. Bureaucrats ban list of phrases including citizen to avoid insulting immigrants, and brown bag as it may be considered racist. So if you're in Seattle, you now just have a paper bag because it's obviously racist to put the colour on it.
Say the last bit again, please, Kev. The way that you said it, that was absolutely awesome.
What part's that, man?
Just rewind just a little bit. Just because it might be considered racist.
That's word for word, man. And what's else here? Seattle Words given a list of alternative terms. A sack lunch is to be used because of historic test to determine skin colour.
Well, I can even remember from my own experience, just when I was leaving school, high school, and they were trying to bring in a policy where the kids were no longer allowed to call the blackboard the blackboard, because it may offend black people. So we had to, this didn't work, but they did try and bring in, you can't call it the blackboard, children, it's now called the chalkboard. And my point is, well, chalk's Racist against
No,
me?
it's changed again, man. It's changed again because it must have been insulting to Chalk. It's now the smart board. But here's a funny one for you, right? This is the state of Washington, right? Brown bag, it's been replaced with sack lunch or lunch. Citizen is now residence. A freshman is now a first yearer. Penmanship is handwriting. A journeyman plumber is a journey level plumber. And the Citizen Service Bureau is the Customer Service Bureau. And a fisherman is just a fisher. That's it. Just a pure old fisher.
Well, Kev, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with one of those, and it's the word citizen. We should no longer ever use citizen because it gives the wrong impression. It gives the impression that these countries actually respect their slaves. It should be called shitizen because that is exactly the way they treat us, like pieces of shit.
And we get crapped on daily. It goes worse than that, though. I was telling you, Kip, before the show, this Halloween over in America, don't dare go out dressed as a cowboy in fear of insulting an Indian. And on the reverse side of that, don't dare go out dressed as an Indian because you're going to insult the cowboys. It's ludicrous, man.
What was the redskin thing you were talking about?
Well, that's the thing right now. It's the talking point in America. Is the Washington Redskins actually a racist term? They're talking about changing the name of them. And we're going out to a break in a minute, but I'm not sure where that actually stands at the moment. If anyone in the chat room knows, please let me know. The last I heard, the Redskins were, the Washington, we'll just call them the Patriots or something. Just for the hell of it.
The unspecified skins. Let's call them unspecified skins.
Just Washington. They were talking about letting the citizens, you can't say that anymore. They were going to decide on the new name of the team. And on that note, guys, we're going out to the break. So join us again straight after the break. Remember, check out truthfrequencyradio.com. Some cracking articles on there. Share it on Facebook. Remember, check out Nick on Stop the Rot 1 over on YouTube and Kip over on Freedom News Hub 2.0. Join us straight after the break.
Alrighty, welcome back to Gun Glasgow Underground News Network, live this Sunday on truthfrequency.com, truthfrequencyradio.com actually, and we're an hour earlier this week due to the clocks changing in the UK. My name is Kip, you'll find me over on YouTube, Kip1883, Freedom News Hub 2.0. My co-host, as always, is Kev. You'll find him over on YouTube under TruthTube451. We have the friend of the show, Nick, Stop the Rot. You'll get him over on YouTube, Stop the Rot 1. You can see that clip of him going into the councillor meeting and heckling the scumbags. So just before the break there, we were touching on the ridiculousness of how they use race to manipulate people, why there's a war on words, why people find the word black, brown, white offensive, I do not know. And just the absolute ridiculousness of the whole race issue at the moment. And I think it can be summed up to divide and conquer.
Definitely, Kip. That's what I was just going to say. It's injected out there to keep people divided, to keep us fighting amongst ourselves instead of recognising who the real problem is here. That's the way I see it anyway. One world, one race. I know people have differences in that, but come on, it's 2013. Let's get along. That's where all our problems are coming from.
Now, I said something on the show before, and it was like at the moment they're trying to sell a multicultural society. I do not want a multicultural society. That is a big amalgamation. They all make you conform to one.
It's the death of the community as well, Kip, isn't it?
But then you're going to have no diversity. I want a society with lots of different cultures in it, not a multicultural society. I mean, I don't want... Look at the UK, even out with the UK, most high streets, most city centres you walk down, McDonald's, Starbucks, Greggs, it's all the same crap. There's no difference. Cities no longer... individual cities are losing their individual character. I can only comment about that.
Subways now, every street you turn, there's a Subway everywhere, man. It's absolutely taking over the place. And every street you turn, like you say, it is all the same buildings, all the same corporations, the ones at the top.
And there's no room for diversity. I mean, I want lots of different cultures, not one big worldwide culture. That's my preference. I have no problems with people debating, no, should we let the Muslims in and stuff like that. I think it's a stupid, moronic argument, to be honest with you. I don't shoot down people for having that argument. I don't like that because I think you ostracise them and you can't bring them into a conversation that you're having and try and maybe affect a change in their thinking. I think if you listen to a lot of people that would be perceived as racist because they say things about the Muslims in the UK and stuff like that, these people have they've got genuine gripes. Their anger's been misguided and they're taking it out in the wrong. I mean, why go after the individuals, the asylum seekers or the immigrants or whatever that come over here? Why not go after the government?
See, that's the thing,
facilitates this stuff.
Because these people do have genuine gripes, the media manipulate that and they give them these divisions to focus on. That's what I see happening anyway. Instead of them, like you were saying there, why don't they recognise the government? That is exactly why the media use this tactic. Look at Sky News last week. It was wall-to-wall immigration coverage and it was all different groups all bitching about one another. And the whole time it was just dividing people and causing more arguments when, in my world, I think we should be looking for what we've got in common and coming together and working together. But again, that's too utopic for some people.
Or even just celebrating the differences. I mean, we've not even touched on your favourite Tommy Robinson, mate.
Oh, man, wow.
He's pulled. I mean, I don't even think we spoke about it off air, mate. And
what do you think's happening with him, Kip? I've seen the interview with him on RT.
He's looking for a payday, I think, mate. He's exhausted his EDL bullcrap. Like, my opinion, he's exhausted his EDL stuff, so now he's looking to position himself as a reasonable, honourable man. He will run for council, MP, Mark Muller.
That's what I think. Maybe even start some kind of party, not the EDL, but some kind of offshoot from that.
He'll get on the gravy train. He wants in at the trough. He wants on the gravy train. And once he gets in there, he'll be on the expenses. He'll be down in Parliament. And what will he do? He'll be doing more divide and conquering along the way.
Well, Nick Griffith does well out of it, doesn't he?
Who's that?
Griffin,
sorry. Yeah, that's the one, man. Nick Griffin. Griffith.
You know, Tommy Robinson, although some people say his real name's Stephen Lennon, and then some people say his name's something else as well.
Yardley or something. That's the other one, isn't it?
I still stand on my suspicion that he may have been away for some Zionist training.
Political
all
exercise.
Expenses. Yeah, all expenses paid trip. Well, whilst he was supposed to be in jail in America for trying to get in there with a false passport. I'm not saying I have any evidence to support this, but I can see what's going on.
Are you saying that you're coming up with a conspiracy theory, Nick?
Quite possibly, yeah.
I think I'll have to second your theory, Nick. Definitely.
It definitely looks a bit that way, doesn't it?
Well, here's the facts as I see it. There was a marked, notable difference in that guy's rhetoric before and after his jail sentence. I mean,
now, especially now as well, since he's now left the EDL and is moving into a possible career in politics. Come on, and the BBC, the ITV, they're all giving him airtime. RT giving him airtime. All giving him airtime. Why are they giving him airtime? Well,
give people something to argue about other than what the real problems are.
Yeah, quite possibly,
But I think you're spot on. He's definitely edging for a political career, or he's looking for a payday. I subscribe to something that did change in him between his jail sentence, whether that was an outside influence inside the jail system or even outside the jail system when he was inside America, who knows? We can only speculate, but there definitely is a noticeable change in his attitude, his rhetoric, and the way he was, the ability for him to express himself in public scenarios.
Yeah, maybe so. You know, I think we should try and get him to come on the show sometime.
Oh, I'm sure he'll have a word with me. I'm positive he'll have a word.
I'll go searching because I've had a few of his followers have a one-on-one with me back and forth with regards to what's going on.
Yeah, stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously,
so
followers
I know a few
spell.
of the ones that are close to him with regards to. I know of them, and they know of me. I'll go and have a look and see if I can find him.
I thought you had them on speed dial, Kev.
Oh yeah, man. Me and Tommy were like that. We go out for golf every month, man. Of course we do. I mean, we've got a distinct hatred for the Wahhabists over in Saudi, and that is where our likeness ends.
And when you play golf, has he got a bigger handicap than you, Kev?
I don't know, but it's the poor immigrants that he gets to carry all of his sticks about for them. I feel sorry for them. It's outrageous. He turns up in a big metal container, he lets them out for a couple of hours, know what I mean, airs them, puts them back in. Wrong, man. What
I found funny was the way he rolled out his Asian pal to make him look this multicultural man that's now talking to the moderate Muslims and stuff. And
I can't honestly even stomach watching them, even though it's quite hilarious to see what they're saying and things like that. I just cannot stomach them, man.
I'm of the opinion Tommy Robinson wouldn't have came to the forefront so much if, for instance, he stayed in Glasgow and his football team was a bit bigger and it gave him some more time and more events to go and vent his anger at. He wouldn't have
We've got our own brand of them in Glasgow. We came across them, man. We came face to face with them, a few months ago?
Well, here's another thing that I came across. It was on Saturday. I was watching a wee bit of the old Football Focus, and they're talking about, I think they were celebrating the Football Association's whatever anniversary. And I'm just watching this, half watching it. It's on the TV in the background, and they're giving you wee bits of information about the Football Association. Now, before I say this information, a lot of people will speculate professional sports, corporation sports are put there to distract the masses. Now, where was the Football Association founded? Any guests? Kev, Nick, any guests? Well, it was founded in a Freemason hall.
Why does this not surprise me?
Well, I know it might not say much, but it was founded by the Freemasons in a Freemason hall, and I think that speaks for itself, to be honest.
Do you know where the first international game of football took place?
It was Scotland versus England. It was 0-0, but I don't know where it took place.
Did you hear? I don't know where it took place either, to be honest. But did you hear what the guys? It was a college thing, wasn't it? You know what I mean? A university thing. And in the letter, the guy said, "Let's include hacking." You know the English guy to the Scotland guy. Let's include hacking, and hacking was supposed to be like, you know, when you take somebody's legs out, right? And they had in them days as well studs. Right? They were bolts. You know, you just stuck bolts through your shoe boots. Hacking. Them guys were hard.
Well, Kev, I was catching. You were on the round table last night on truthfrequencyradio.com, and I caught about, I don't know, an hour of it or so, and I heard you. I think they were questioning you about what we have here in the UK in the way of things to keep us occupied. They were talking about the NFL and stuff. Would it be on the realms of possibility that the NFL was founded by Freemasonry as well?
Oh, I would say it's probably more than likely, Kip. I'd say, look, me and you, we like our football, don't we? But at least we use it for what it should be used for. A bit of escapism from reality. An hour and a half away from the real world. Because it's all just, for me anyway, I mean, I know people that really, they buy into it, they can name like what football boots they wear, how many passes they've made. If I could get them that interested in our information, oh wow, man. But me and you, the likes of me and you, Kip, we can treat it for what it is. An hour and a half off, a few beers, enjoy it, take some time out, and then back to the real world.
for me, the important things. Now, I watch TV sometimes. Every now and again, I'll watch a film. I'll watch TV. I will watch football and stuff. The important thing, I think, for people is not to suspend disbelief. Don't go into that trance state. I find myself doing it with films all the time because I'm concentrating on the message the movie's trying to put into people's heads rather than following the storyline. It's kind of similar to, like, even nowadays when I try and watch football, I'll put it on the TV and I'll have the computer on at the same time and I'll find myself, whereas a couple of years ago I would have been entranced watching every tackle and, as you say, Kev, getting all the stats, knowing all the players.
I was the same as well, Kip. Totally. I'm a hypocrite because I was the same myself, man.
Oh, well, things like, when I was younger, I was right into my football. I knew all the stuff. It's changed recently within the last couple of years. Nothing to do with Rangers getting relegated and stuff.
Let's face it, Kip, in the west of Scotland, if you weren't into football, there's not really much to talk about when you go to work or out with your friends and things, because it's really a huge part of life here.
Aye, and it's not only just in the football sense, Kev. You have communities divided along these lines. The Protestant Catholic, I mean, the old famous divide and conquer that's been inserted into Glasgow for a long time.
Kip, we're not been like overstating the fact, but people have died in Glasgow just for wearing the wrong colours.
Oh, mate, I'm quite sure the amount of stabbings and deaths go up every old firm. Fact, I mean, the amount of
prompted the Scottish Government just 2 years ago or something to actually have a big summit because the number of women that were getting abused and battered off of men in the west of Scotland would go up dramatically in wake of it's a Celtic Rangers game. It's the local Glasgow Catholics and Protestant derby. So that's how big a problem it is over in the west of Scotland.
And I can't remember what game it was that got the alcohol ban brought into Scottish football. But us slaves up here in Scotland are so barbaric and can't behave ourselves so much. The state deems us unfit to have a beer while watching the football. And we don't stay in a police state.
I went down to Old Trafford for a player's testimonial one time, Kip, and I was absolutely shocked at the fact they had pubs inside the ground. I couldn't get over it, man. I missed the first 10 minutes of the game just because I didn't even want a beer, but I was going to have one because I could. Do you know what I mean?
It's unbelievable. I mean, it was not too long ago we were talking about the ability to walk about with an open can of beer down in Bilderberg, mate.
Whatever you do, don't put it in a paper bag. Sorry if I offended any brown people out there. I didn't mean to.
Sorry if you offended.
Brown paper bag.
and sorry if you offended any brown bags out there.
And if anybody looks like a polythene bag, we're sorry if we offended.
Just anything that was brown, I'm sorry.
What's your problem with brown sauce, Kev?
Don't get me into that, Kip. It's taken me years to get over it, man.
And, well, another thing we could touch on, another things that have been happening overall in the world is it looks like there's a lot of new alliances getting drawn right now over the fallout of what's happened in Syria.
Is there?
Yeah, again, there's lots of ways to look at this, but you have the House of Saud and the United States openly coming out. The House of Saud openly coming out and suggesting to break off diplomatic ties, or did it actually happen?
I don't think it's actually happened. My take on that, I'll give you my take on that, Kip, just quickly before you get back into it. I think the House of Saud, in particular, Bandar Bush, he is fed up with his man that he paid for in the White House. He's not fed up of America, but the guy he put in to carry on the agenda, it's time up for him. And if I was Obama right now, I'd be walking about in a Kevlar suit everywhere I go, because I see his usefulness has been well outlived.
And do you think it's any coincidence that, I can't remember the exact details, maybe you'll have it at your hand, Kev, within the next year or two, America will be self-sufficient in oil, with the fracking boom that's happening there right now?
If that is the case, I mean, I haven't seen that, Kip, but if that is the case, that's pretty huge.
Well, that's it is the case. I can't remember the specifics, whether it's a year.
What about all the capped wells as well, that were part of the deal by OPEC? When they done the deal, Kissinger back in the day with them, they agreed to basically not tap into large reserves under the soil in America just so that we would be forced to go to the Saudis, and they in turn would insist that they use the petrodollar. So what happens when they decide to free them up and open them up?
Well, look what's happening with China just now as well. I'm trying to remember the specifics of it, but I think at the moment, or within the near future, China will be buying more oil from Saudi Arabia than America. Look at the fracking thing that's happening in America. I think that personally is a agenda by the United States to become self-sufficient in oil, regardless of what damage it does to their own citizens, to give them more leeway away from Saudi Arabia. But if they are breaking ties, and I think there's no doubt there is some sort of a friction there, and again, people need to bear in mind there's different factions in the US as well as in this as well as in Saudi. So you've got competing factions within both countries, corporations, if you want to call it that. So you do need to bear in mind there'll be pro Bandar Bush folk in and around the administration, and then people that aren't so pro Bandar Bush and the House of Saud and stuff within administration. So there's a lot of grey areas within.
Sorry, Kip, I was muted. They should just call it the House of Bush over in Saudi Arabia. They literally should.
No, because then the sex police would be along, man, and could shut down the House of Bush.
And I've just offended some kind of plant somewhere as well, man.
That's offensive to Bushies, man.
I'm wrong. Arrest me now. Terrorist.
But it's definitely interesting times, and Syria's divided a lot of nations. I mean, you've got Egypt. I don't know about you, Kev, I still cannot make any sense of what's going on in that country.
No, totally. I still think America were happy to put Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood in. I think you'll find they probably are still funding the Muslim Brotherhood. The military, I don't really know where they stand, though, because I've heard that the leader of the military, he has very, very close ties to Israel. So murky, I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's very, very hard to make head nor tail of it. And
I'll tell you a big one I seen, Kip, sorry. But it was the deal that was done by China and Turkey for the missile defence system. That was basically, they've contracted them to, I believe it's $3.4 billion. And what they'll be doing is they'll be providing the missile defence shield. And also, this was the clincher in the deal, or so Turkey say. America were just offering to give them the defence system and they would man it and maintain it. No Turkish involvement, really. However, the Chinese, they're going to take manufacturing to Turkey, create jobs, and also train the Turks on how to use it and maintain it themselves. And then they wouldn't be so reliant on any one nation. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But is this more fallout again because we know Erdogan wanted to get right into Syria? Is it because Obama backed out of that? Is he just giving him the middle finger?
And do bear in mind what... I can never say this dude's name right. I pronounce it Erdogan or whatever, but anyway.
Cardigan.
Cardigan, aye, that Turkish leader Cardigan. When the majority of the riots were happening in Turkey in Tahrir Square, I believe, he was coming out and making noises and saying that it was now I might be murdering this a wee bit, but I think it was along the lines that he was saying it's the capitalist imperialists that are starting these riots within his country. And that was a time when Turkey was getting more involved with the Patriot missiles, with the cross-border conflicts that were happening inside Syria and Turkey at the time. And Turkey's another mind bender to try and actually understand the internal politics in these countries. I do my level best to try, and then when you think you're getting somewhere, another story will come up and it'll just completely take you down a different route and make you reevaluate the conclusions that you had came to before.
When it comes to Turkey, mate, I have no idea what side of the fence they fall on. One day you'll be thinking, yep, they're either pro-Israeli, and then something else will happen. They'll turn against them, and then they'll be against wanting to go into Syria, and then you'll see them. It's crazy, man, absolutely crazy.
That's really hard.
What I've heard, though, I don't know how true it is, whether Erdogan is or isn't, but I had heard he is basically Muslim Brotherhood, radical Islam. Whether that's true or not, it would certainly explain why there was Al-Nusra getting trained inside Turkey, why he was allowing that. Don't know if that's another aspect we need to look into there.
I think though, I think it could be said that the Al-Nusra that was getting trained inside Turkey were in the CIA camps. So how much that directly had to do with the Turkish authorities sanctioning that rather than the CIA people that were inside Turkey, who knows? Because do bear in mind that the Turkish authorities did stop, I believe it was Al-Nusra, but it was some sort of rebel forces taking chemical weapons across the border.
It was them, man.
And that was quite, I wouldn't say early on in the conflict, but it was early on when the conflict was coming to the attention of the international community.
Well, see, Turkey certainly knew it was going on, though, Kip, because it was just on the morning of the Benghazi attack. The Turkish foreign minister basically visited that ambassador Stevens, was it? And it's alleged, it's rumoured that was to say, listen, we need to stop the shipment of these things because Russia, they're saying they're onto us, they know what we're doing, and we need to call an end to this. Now, whether that's right or not, I got that from Hagman and Hagman and on Canada Free Press back at the time. Again, whether that's right or not, but if it is right, then they certainly knew about the training and all that, and that to me says Erdogan was certainly sanctioning it.
And do bear in mind about the incident that happened. It's a bit foggy now, but it was a Russian plane got grounded in Turkey. It was en route somewhere. I think it might even be in Syria, and it got stopped due to some warning coming across. Speculated it was a warning from America that said there was some sort of illegal arms parts or something on the plane, which was a kind of a kick to the stones diplomatically to Russia.
Well, we're going out to break in a minute, Kip, right? But again, on the same kind of theme, everyone backing away from the USA. What are you making of all this reports in Russia today about the EU kind of forming a stronger alliance now against a common enemy in the USA? I mean, when it comes to the NSA spying and the spying scandal and everything else, if you're trying to tell me that these people didn't know they were all spying on each other, that's just absolutely ludicrous.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Kevin. Didn't let me forget about it, because I definitely want to go into that when we come back after the break, because I think that's another Judai mind trick that we're all getting. Swallow up like idiots, which I don't want to be part of.
Could we maybe suggest that this is the bringing down of the old order? Are they deconstructing it and then going to present us with the Holy Grail, the New World Order at the end of it? Tune in after the break and Kip will break that down for you. Stay tuned, folks. Okay, welcome back everyone. You're tuned into Gun. We're at the last section of this week's show. My name's Kev. I'm joined tonight by Kip, my co-host, and a really good friend of the show, Nick. You can find him on Stop the Rot 1 over on YouTube. Kip can be found over on YouTube as Freedom News Hub 2.0. Kip, I believe you've got a backup channel now as well, man. Do you want to give that a shout out?
It's just called Kip's Clips. It was created in the confusion of the Sky Plus bull crap. But thankfully it did get created because a George Galloway clip I put up that was recorded in Oxford University got me a strike on my channel. No surprise that this clip had a British Israeli. Let's not even go into that crap. But I had a British Israeli walking about a debate with an Israeli flag above his head in a very threatening manner to George Galloway, making himself look like a right twat. And if you watch any of George Galloway, this man is a master at debating, especially the Zionists, man. This dude knows his stuff inside out. And he just made the guy look like the twat that he was and put it up. And boom, got hit with a third-party strike by some stupid media corporation. I was like, well, it's a third-party strike, fair dues, I'll acknowledge it. Acknowledged it, then 2 seconds later got hit with a strike. So there's no surprise that whoever ran that debate and then copyrighted the footage from that debate were obviously from the pro-Zionist lobby. And It could even be said that was deliberately leaked out onto YouTube to go around and start striking up all the channels that would tend to be anti-Zionist that would put up this sort of information.
Definitely, Kip. I mean, we spoke about before how we're having to temper what we say, people watching what they say. And on YouTube, we talked about it before the show, you're almost having to censor your titles now, because if you do slant it so far in one direction, you're going to get whacked down for it. And it's no right, I don't think, because I bet you I can go onto YouTube after the show and I'll find that very same debate probably with a different title, and there'll be no strike against that channel whatsoever. And that's the annoying thing about it. But before we digress and go off into tangents like me and Kip do, before the break we were talking about bringing down the old establishments and replacing it with the new. And is that what we are seeing right now with this? Let's take the European example again, Kip. You're going to get into that. It's basically, at the forefront of that, it's Merkel and Hollande of Germany and France respectively. They're wanting urgent bilateral talks by the end of the year and an end to the spying scandals. Well, they're all in it together, man.
You've even touched on this before, Kev, when we were having this general conversation, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago. And the fact that this stuff that's been presented to the public right now is blowing smoke up our ass. It's empty words. And as Nick touched on, it's the Hegelian dialect. They're basically creating the problem with the NSA. Then the solution's going to be a global body to monitor everybody's spying. And that
solution will be actually what the people cry out for. And they'll all be laughing because it was the whole aim the whole time anyway.
And I think Nick was going to expand on what we were seeing there as well. He can actually say the word right. It'll be Hegelian dialect.
Yay, man! Yay, man!
Right, for a change. And you were just talking before we came back for the break, Nick, that you believe this is the biggest example, well, one of the biggest examples we may have actually seen of this.
Well, for me, I don't know. I've looked at it quite in depth, with regards to my own perspective of it, and I've looked about and I've seen what's going on. And as far as I'm concerned, we are at the moment witnessing the largest form of the Hegelian dialect that we've ever seen. And what's more, when the American dollar collapses, that's going to be the problem, and the reaction is going to be, what's going on, and then they're going to bring in
Russell Brand to save us.
Well, Russell's leading us towards the directing us, shepherding us in to the.
He's telling people what solution to call out for, isn't
he? Yeah, man. And then they are going to be the solution.
A solution that has been eons in the making, basically.
Yeah, it's been going on for a long, long time. A huge amount of time. It's quite frightening, really.
And I think some of the things I've heard talked about in general with this spying scandal is the fact that everybody's spying on each other. So Merkel to come out and shoot down, although I believe these are empty words put up there as part of the theatre of it, if you want to strip it back and try and take it on face value, how can Merkel be merked at the Yanks for spying on her, when if Germany had the NSA's technology, ability and capacity, Germany would be doing the exact same, China would be doing the exact same, Russia would be doing the exact same. That's why I get a bit annoyed with people who get, America's this big great demon, look what they're doing, so let's look to China to save us, let's look to Russia to save us, when these are all corporations working together to basically, I've said it before, they're all slave masters and they're out there arguing to see who can be the biggest slave master. I don't see any of them as any viable alternative to the system that's in place at the moment.
Well, you see, the thing is, most of them are offering a different system. But, you've got to look at it as the system is the problem.
Well, what I mean in the sense that the systems that they're offering up, it's still a system built on the written word on a bit of paper, where nobody can use what's in their head. You can't come to somebody and go, tell me what's most reasonable here. That guy has to go, wait there a second, I need to go into my rule book, who was written by somebody who just didn't want any cognitive ability to be put into any process. They need people to go, hold on a sec, I need to confer to my rule book. It's ridiculous. We need to get away from the written word and start living in our hearts and our heads instead of following these people who are so confused and so stupid that they need to refer to the written word for them to know what's right or wrong.
Amen.
Well,
bang on right. Right.
Well, it's like another thing that could be another important part of the information that I feel that isn't out there enough is the fact that all the courts are fraudulent. These courts, I mean, a lot of people will offer you up. Look at Alex Jones. He will offer you up. He doesn't want to tear down the courts or the legal system and start again. He wants to reset it. I mean, I've said it before, but I want to figuratively burn down every institution in this country because it's founded on a heap of shit. It's founded on the divine right of this dragon beast down in Buckingham Palace to rule over everybody.
Tell him.
But,
Definitely, Kip. You were off on one there, man. I was just giving you the floor, man. You were off on one.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So, Kip, were you celebrating the christening of the latest lizard this week?
Mate, I've literally tried to stay away from it because I'm not even joking. It really upsets me, man.
Well, mate, honestly, no, last night, I believe it's going to be breaking news in tomorrow's paper. He finally caught his first fly. Philip finally taught him how to catch a fly, man. He sat there. Lizzie, she burst into the bath with me herself. She was clopping around the halls, man. It was parties a go-go.
What I cannot stand is the worship of these people. I mean, oh my God.
First hand, Kip, they are absolutely idolised, man.
Here, a human being is having a baby. Let's get a stupid flag and go and sit down somewhere and go, woo, baby! That baby's... Oh, Nick, see if you can somewhat recreate your rant that I've got, that I put up on my channel that we got on when we were down in Huddersfield, and it was actually about this subject, and I thought it was spot on, man, when you were just roughly along the same lines I'm going along there, that this baby is no more special than any other baby. Why do these morons feel the necessity?
I would say it's probably more unfortunate than any other baby being born into that shower of parasites.
So, somewhat more special? What, more special than all the other babies? Eh? Come on.
He's got, he's what is he? Is he like 6th in line for the throne now?
3rd in line, I believe, man.
There's not going to be a throne by the time he gets there.
When Russell Brand leads us to this utopia.
We're awake. We know what's going on. There's going to be a swathe of people. Going, what the fuck are they doing there?
Here's a question to Russell Brand. Here's a question to Russell Brand. If the guy can pull himself from his messiah complex to listen to this. What do you think about the royals, buddy? Does this revolution of yours involve hang, drawing and quartering her? If not, mate, I'm not buying in.
No, you can be sure he won't be turning against them, Kip. He won't even talk about them, though. That'll be the thing. He won't get into that. He'll just be telling the people what they want to hear, the things that they're needing to hear right now, the things they're looking for, to steer them towards the controlled revolution.
That guy does not want to kick out the royals. He's on the BBC. I think that says it all. Anybody who wants to give credence to any royalty, the actual idea of royalty itself is absolutely retarded to me. And it comes from the divine right to rule. Then the printing press was mass-produced. And then people started to be able to compare Bibles written from different parts of the world, and then that's when you got a lot of the different Bibles coming out and stuff, because there was a lot of inconsistencies in these fairy tale books. So they had to amalgamate all the stories into one consistent story, so there was a consistent bullcrap story to follow throughout the Christendom, I think it was called at the time.
That's what it was called. It was all just to scare people into confirmation, in my opinion. Keep them in line, give them a scary big man, give them some false hope. And while all that goes on, the ones that are in charge, they just carry on their corruption and their crap and their killing and their ruling and they're oppressing people, man.
I heard a really good...
What's more, they do it out in the open as well. They do it out in the open. They don't hide it. I mean, you've only got to look at the way that Diana was murdered, yeah? Yeah.
Murdered. Yeah.
It was done out in the open, right? If you cannot see exactly what went on there, and they're just bleeding a little bit into the situation now as well, right? You know, when we're talking about the controlled revolution, right? You know, unlawful killing, the Lily Allen's father.
Keith Allen. Brilliant
Allen,
documentary.
Right? Yeah? It's not banned on YouTube anymore. You can see that on YouTube. Right? They're just a little bit every now and again, right? Yeah? They're leading you towards, or leading us towards, what they want, which is a violent revolution. And when them sways of people that don't know now, you know, the ones that we've been trying to wake up for ages and ages, right? When they realise what's going on, it's going to be panic, right? And imagine, right? I'm really worried about this, right? I'm not a fearmonger, but I am really worried about this one situation. You know, when the economy crashes, right, and there's going to be no more money for all these tablets that everybody's taking to keep them all on a straight and level.
The happy pills.
Yeah. Them guys are going to get fucking really pissed off. It's a worry.
I hear what you're saying, Nick. A lot of people talk about, I think in the most Western worlds, you're like 3 days away from the supermarkets being bare. So, in the same token, as you're saying, Nick, people that are all on these SRIs and stuff, if the petrol dries up, if the infrastructure for whatever reason grinds to a halt for more than 3 days, I've never thought about this, Nick, spot on point. The pharmacies are going to run dry of all their happy pills, and you're going to have all these zombies out there. There's
going to be some pissed off people, man.
Yeah, man.
There's going to be some proper pissed off people.
Oh, it's going to get very nasty, and then they can roll out their police state, which they want to do anyway.
It's just another one of the silent weapons in a very violent war that they are waging upon us, right? And they're coming from all angles.
Very effective.
Yeah. Silent weapons for a very violent war.
And I think one of a tool that the Americans have that we don't, and it doesn't even enter into our psyche because of the history of our country. Whereas in the States, you have the militias, you have the genuine militias where people can band together legally under their constitution to provide defence, so on and so forth.
I think every country should have that, Kip.
That's what I'm saying. I think here in the UK, we need to start thinking along those lines of like-minded people banding together in certain areas with a backup plan if what we're talking about does actually come to fruition.
We're living in a city, though, where if there's 4 of us stood under a lamppost having a conversation, we can get done for loitering, and it's what do they call it? An anti-social gathering or something like that, because you know what it's like up here, man. It's like when they see the youngsters on the corner, I think it's any more than 4, they'll pull them for it. So how are we ever going to club together and start something like that without ending up on Crime Watch looking like some kind of terrorist sect? I do not know.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Is it the same? Is it the same for you guys up there? That if 7 people are gathered together, that can be considered a riot.
It's something like that, isn't it? I can't remember the wording of it up here, Kip. It's something. It's anti-social gathering or something.
What I can say for sure is they do have all sorts of bullcrap written into every law, which gives them the ability to more or less do as they please. I mean, just look at breach of the peace. It's the biggest excuse to just jail you for not complying with a police officer I've ever heard in my life, and it's ridiculous.
There's some very grey areas in proving it, isn't there? You know what I mean?
It's just code for they don't like the look of you.
Yeah. And the best antidote for that is throwing a camera in their face. And that's likely to get you done for breach of the peace as well.
But again, though, Kip, I mean, I work quite closely sometimes with the police, and I have to see the older generation of bobbies, the ones that have been in there a good while, they're still real police.
Kev, I was going to say, I don't know, I'm looking at the board there. Have we got a incoming call?
No, we do not, mate. That's our board.
Sorry, mate.
That's us, man. Yeah, so what I was saying is, yeah, the older, like, generational police that I work with, the ones that have been in there maybe over 10 years or so, then they seem to still get it, but it's the new ones that are coming out. They're obviously getting the New World Order training. It's the revenue generators, as I call them. They are just like robots, man. They really are.
And look what's happening with the armed forces in this country and in the States. At the same time, there's record... what would you call it when you sort of retire people for the army? Redundancies. There's the redundancies in the army, but in the same token, you're bombarded with adverts telling you to roll up and go and get yourself killed for some non-existent country that doesn't even exist anymore. So they're wanting to get in all these new recruits, so they've got a lot of, what do they call young squaddies, mate?
Recruits.
Right. You get lots of young recruits who are fresh out. They've not got any of the old-fashioned morals that used to exist in the army, in the US Army and the UK Army. That's gradually probably getting MLP'd out of them just to become biological androids rather than free-thinking people in a combat situation.
Well, the army over here now, Kip, I don't know if you've seen it this week, but we're cutting down again our numbers and we're going more for reservists now. 11,000 new reservists. It's a big recruitment drive on at the moment. I don't know what plans they've got for these people, but I'm sure that even just by joining up and being a weekend warrior, I bet you that'll bring a lot of them off the brew and that'll bring the unemployment numbers down.
It's trying to hold the country to ransom. The pro-European people in this country that are affecting our armed forces are trying to put the UK in a position that they can stand up in Parliament and argue that the UK can't afford to come out of the EU because we wouldn't be able to defend ourselves. You just need to look at you might know a wee bit more about this than me, Kev, the treaty or the agreement that Britain and France have recently put in place, and I believe it's more or less along the lines to share aircraft carriers.
Yep. They'll basically be amalgamating the navies, basically.
Yeah, the European super army. And if you want to find out about the European super army, go and look into this cretin, Baroness Ashton. I mean, this woman, gene pool must be coming for like half a person. Go and look at her, and then go and... Baroness Ashton, go and look at her. She's in the EU. She's one of she's a scumbag pushing all this pro-EU agenda through the UK. And that's why I can defend myself when I even put out some UKIP stuff. Because I think that's a step in I don't think it's ultimately where we want to go, but I think people fighting for national sovereignty, and if people... I think getting national sovereignty back would be a brilliant stepping stone. It's not ultimately where I want to go, but I think it'd be a great stepping stone. And when I say national sovereignty, I mean complete national sovereignty that countries have not had for a long time now. I mean, get rid of the UN. I mean, complete firewalls between countries. Each country is its own independent nation.
Kip, you mentioned UKIP there, right? And I love Farage and I love what he says over in Brussels and everything else. And he says what needs to be said. He really does. He shakes them out of their trance over there. They hate him. But do you think maybe in some way he could be deemed, or his party, not him, his party could be deemed as some kind of controlled opposition?
Definitely.
I mean, especially when you look at their foreign policy towards Israel. I mean, they are staunch defenders of the Israeli state. And I just see them as saying the right things, like Russell Brand, saying exactly what some people want to hear and encapsulating a group of people that were maybe dwindling away from the Conservatives-Labour divide.
I think UKIP could be perceived as like Plan B if the Conservatives and Labour, which it looks like they've lost all respect and confidence, and a lot of people have lost respect and confidence for both the major parties in this country and the Lib Dems. So UKIP could be seen as appeasing the right wing at one stage.
Or is it indeed Plan A? Right, is it put there as Plan A? Right, makes all the right noises with regards to getting England out or UK out of Europe. Yeah, but was he put there intentionally to do that? I mean, have a look at the rest of his policies. Yeah, the man wants troops on the streets.
Yeah. I'm certainly more
supportive of UKIP. He's more right wing than the Tories are, right? And we can talk, we can listen to him, saying what he says in Europe, and he debates well, as does George Galloway, debates incredibly well. But the politicians,
they're paid liars. Let's not forget that. I would include George Galloway in that as well. Because he is a politician, and I would like to ask George Galloway whether he would admit that he's a paid liar, because that's what politicians are. They're up there to manipulate the truth, to sway the public opinion in one direction or the other.
Still urge everyone to go and watch his performance over at the Senate, though, back at the time of the Iraq War.
The guy is absolutely fantastic at debating. I tell you what, there's nobody, I don't think anybody can beat George at debating.
No, I agree with you there, Nick.
Right, I think even he would even give Stephen Fry a run for his money, you know what I mean? And Stephen's good at debating.
That would be something to watch, actually, wouldn't it?
If you could get them to disagree on something, perhaps.
I'm sure there would be plenty.
I would just like to clarify as well, over the time me and Kev have been doing these shows, Kev has not been doing subliminal messages when he's been saying to me, UKIP. He's talking about me.
Big bust, man. I get paid £10 every time I do that. Stop it.
I think it was you that mentioned it to me, Kevin. Now I constantly hear it, and I'm like, this
I have to phone my handlers after the show now, man. That's me. I'm going to have to slip in some other kind of disinfo, you know what I mean?
This is a political broadcast by UKIP. Or by MeKIP.
We should just start our own party, Kip. That's what we should do.
Let's call it our own party, Kip.
Brilliant.
Oh, well, we could get Russell Brand on board, man. He could lead the party.
I think that should be the last time that man's name gets uttered on this show, because he is going to be talked about from here to Timbuktu for hour upon hour over the next few weeks. Let them talk about him, and I think we should just rise above that and carry on looking at him.
He's an absolute slimy turd. Let it go.
Well, Kev, I think I agree with you, but
even if he is genuine, Kip, we don't need him anyway. He's just one more normal guy. He's nothing special. Yeah, he's got a big platform, but he's just one more person that's woke up at a time when lots of people are waking up.
And a thing I want to say is, as well, a lot of people are saying, well, he's got a platform and listen to what he's saying. He's not saying anything that I've not heard from other sources. I mean, he's not saying anything new to me. And to me, I try and read between the lines of what he's saying, and he definitely agrees with State, which is polar opposites for me anyway. So,
well, Kip, we're approaching the end of the show. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Nick, thank you so much for coming along this week. I think the listeners would have loved hearing what you've got to say. As per usual, man, you're always welcome on here. Kip, it's been great again, man. Obviously, the listeners want to check us out. You can find us over on Glasgow Underground News Network on Facebook. Remember and tell all your friends about the network. Share it far and wide. And until next week, Kip.
Done.
We'll get it one of these weeks, man.
We'll get there.